First of all, the campaign manager of this campaign es una Latina. I believe there is enormous enthusiasm in the Latino community for this new ticket. But what we have seen, it's the number of Latino volunteers signing up to call people, to send letters, to knock at doors in critical states like Arizona and North Carolina and Georgia. So I believe Latinos will be engaged and at the end will win. Harris will win the votes. And the polls show all the time, and a recent poll also showed that only 30% of Latinos believe Trump is interested in them. And at the end of the day, people are going to vote because they believe that someone is interested in who they are and what they stand for. I think the first thing that become more apparent as the campaign goes by and sort of fully develops, it's that Kamala Harris, the vice president, comes from a mixed race home of immigrants and minorities. And that is an unbelievable advantage to connect with people because Latinos will realize this lady comes from a household that looks a lot like our household. Doesn't mean that that is the only reason, but it's a reason to take a second look at someone that you may have decided not to vote for. And then they'll look at her record. It could be that was what hooked them initially, but then when they look at her records, they will realize that she has a history of fighting crime as an AG, that she has a history of going after criminals like Trump, rich people who break the law for their own gain. And they will realize that as part of the Biden White House, she fought for affordable care. More Latinos now than ever have health care because of the Affordable Care Act that Trump, for 4 years, tried to eliminate, and he couldn't. And that has been expanded in the Biden administration. They will realize that she's part of a White House that brought unemployment to the lowest level it has been in 50 years. So as they look into who is Kamala Harris and who is Governor Walz, they will realize these people care about the things that I care about. Is that they worry about the economy because we're working class and middle class people. We are not the rich people that Trump's tax cuts benefit. Because Trump will tell you, I cut taxes. Yeah, I got $200 more a year in my paycheck. But the rich people got millions and millions in tax cuts. So it's a misnomer as to what he's doing. He's doing a tax cut that benefit the rich. Yeah, it trickles down a little to me and to people in my neighborhood, but that's not the tax cut that Democrats want. But the economy is absolutely the number one preoccupation that you hear from people. And when you talk to people about the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, they get that. But then they'll tell you, but prices are going up. And voters are not silly or stupid. Prices have been going up. And now the issue is, how do you deter inflation, which is what has been happening for the last year? First of all, the campaign manager of this campaign is una Latina. So when you think at the highest level, Julie is the campaign manager and she's a Latina. So we are represented at all levels of the campaign, and the activity, it's taking place in our neighborhoods. Lots of activity. That's why a week after Harris became our nominee, support for Harris over Biden went up by 10%. People are beginning to know who she is. Now, more and more Latinos are born in the United States. So the immigrant experience, it's a generation and above far from them. So the immigrant issues, immigration as an issue that was very important for another generation, becomes less and less important as more and more Latinos begin to be born in the United States. They understand that that was their parents' and their grandparents' reality. But let's also understand that we represent many countries. It's not only that we are Colombians and Mexican Americans and Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, but within them, there is different generations. Cubans who came here right after Fidel and are aging now have a different set of policy and political perceptions that their kids or grandchildren. They represent a different breed of Cubans as a community. We must have all of that in mind, but also focus on what brings us together, that for the most part is the economic issues that we face as a community. Vice President Harris represented a state with an enormous Latino population. So our issues are not new to her. She saw them in the courts. She protected consumers. She protected many of the people who are members of our community. And I think that in foreign relations, she probably received tutorial and mentoring from someone like Joe Biden, who spent a life making sure that we cut good deals for the United States, but fair deals for the countries with whom we're dealing with. Latin America was part of that reality. And that's the kind of mentoring that the vice president has had.